Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. This week, we feature an exclusive interview with the Brazilian Consul General in Lagos, Francisco Carlos Suarez Luz, as the country celebrates 200 years of its independence from Portugal. Our country became independent from Portugal on September 7th, 1822, and this year's bicentennial is a years-long celebration, culminating in a pool of activities all through next week. Ambassador Francisco Luz prepares our minds on what to expect and discusses the historical, socio-cultural ties between Nigeria and Brazil. Ambassador Francisco Luz, thank you so much for speaking with us and inviting us to your home at the Consulate General here in Lagos.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine.
You arrived in Nigeria just a few months before the coronavirus pandemic, hit the rest of the world. How challenging was that for you, being appointed given a new appointment during a global health crisis?
I arrived in October 2019. I barely have time to meet people because when you arrive, you have lots of work to do, homework to do. And when I was ready to start, then the pandemic came. I managed to go a bit back to Brazil, and I stayed stranded there until the airports were open. So almost 6 months I spent in Brazil. I returned on the third flight from London on the 5th of September 2020. And then from there it was still a challenging time until probably March 2021. I got COVID here in the house also, so it was very strange to be away and in the middle of this pandemic, family away, my daughters and grandson away, so it was complicated. But then I think from March, April 2021, things started to become back to normal again. So now, finally, we're doing what we're supposed to do. That's the foster Brazil-Nigerian trade relations, cultural relations, education. So this is what here, tourism. So this is what the main, the core work I do here.
There's been a lot of cross-fertilization of, social-cultural activities and values between Nigeria and Brazil. That's been, the football, that's the carnivals, and there's also historical similarities. Nigeria had its stint with the Portuguese colonial masters, and then Brazil itself was colonized by, Portugal. Do you feel sometimes that, there's still a lot more that needs to be fused, there's a lot more that both can learn, from culture and tradition and the historical ties that we share?
Well, I think that despite all these historical ties and cultural ties, we don't explore them much. We don't see co-productions either in the film industry or the television industry. Music, you can count, I think, in one hand, joint efforts between Brazilian and Nigerian musicians, Brazilian and Nigerian filmmakers. We have, I don't know, less than a handful of documentaries telling the story. Very few people in Brazil know the history of the returned, the Aguda. And every time a Brazilian comes, we take them there to the Brazilian quarters to take a look. So I think we have to. The only thing that will help foster sustainable relations, because trade is something that depends on the logistics of the companies of the country. You need sugar, you need oil, you need fertilizers. So this is what makes. But when the societies are brought together, many other options appear. No? So you have to make these stories known. There is a deep lack of knowledge about these cultural ties. And this brings suspicion, and because you know we had a wave of 419 scams and drug trafficking that damage the image of Nigerians in Brazil. So to break this mistrust, the only thing you can do is to bring knowledge and to see this is a different country. I had a photographer here from Brazil. He was quite surprised with the country. He never imagined to find so modern buildings and great restaurants that rival New York, São Paulo. So he was never expecting that, because what you see in the TV is poverty, is problems, is violence, and violence is everywhere. No? When you see the statistics per capita, you see many cities in the US and even in Brazil much more violent than Lagos. But when you talk to Brazil, how do you live in Lagos? You need an armored car. You go there. Not really, not really. I can move around. I can go to places, and there's no limitation. And this is not true in some countries in the northern hemisphere, and even in Brazil. So I think these stories must be told, and the only way is to try to bring our societies together. The diaspora in Brazil, I think around 20 million Brazilians at least can trace back their roots to what is Nigeria now, or to the old kingdoms, to Oyo, to Keto, to Benin, to Onin, that was Lagos now, Ile-Ife. And this, if they start coming, if we start, it becomes a tourist attraction for Brazilians from the African diaspora to come and look for their roots here in Lagos, in Badagry, in Ibadan, in Oshogbo, in Oyo, in Ile-Ife. I think this will bring, and the same way, the Yorubas going to Brazil, to Rio, to Salvador, to see how strong is the Yoruba culture, and the African in general, because from Nigeria is not only the Yorubas, there is some Hausa influence also, especially in the cuisine. We have a dish that is called Hausa rice. That is like a jollof, but they call it mix dry beef with shrimp and lots of chili in the rice. And it's called Hausa rice. So we receive not only Yorubas, we receive Igbos, we receive Fulani, we receive Hausa.
And maybe the bicentennial anniversary could help. 200 years, of independence for Brazil. You do have a lot of activities lined up to celebrate.
To celebrate this, we developed a whole year cultural program that started. We had some small events from March, April, May, but the first big event was in June, with the opening of an exhibition about our famous architect Oscar Niemeyer, the creator of Brasilia, our capital, since 1960. And Oscar Niemeyer was 10 years of his demise. He passed away 105 years old, and he was an incredible figure. There's lots of his architecture all over Brazil, from Rio, from Belo Horizonte, from Brasilia, and even all over the world. After that, we started doing film shows. We did the last one at Alliance Française on the 20th and 21st, and we tried to show movies, both historical, a bit of animation, and for the first time we brought a documentary that represented Brazil at the Emmys, at the Latin Emmys in 2021, called O Batalá, the Father of Creation. It's an incredible documentary filmed in black and white about to celebrate not only Obatala but Mother Carmen of Gantua. She is the highest Ifa priest, Yanifa of Brazil, and through music. It's quite impressive. Um, but then the main week will be on September, from the 6th to the 10th. We're doing this Brazil Bicentennial Week at the Eco Hotel. We're going to start on the 6th with a tourism event to promote what I was already mentioned, trying to create packages both for Nigerians going to Brazil to visit the areas of African influence, and the same Brazilians from African descendants to come here to Nigeria, to Benin, to Ghana, to Senegal, to learn more about their roots. And the potential of this is huge. You know, we can bring millions. Easily, we can bring 15,000 in the first year. So this is the first event. At night, we're going to have a Brazil Food and Music Festival. On the 7th, we're going to have the official reception. On the 8th, we're going to have a very important business forum. We're bringing a delegation from Rio de Janeiro. The vice president of the Federation of Industries of Rio is coming. The president of the Africa Brazil Institute is coming. It will be a high-level event. I think it will be the first high-level business forum here in Lagos for the last 10 years or so. And we continue the week with more nights with food and music, ending with a barbecue.
And one of the reasons behind this celebration in Lagos is to improve, trade relations between Nigeria and Brazil, and you're very focused on agriculture. Why is that?
Well, because Brazil since late 1970s decided, because of the oil crisis, decided to invest immensely on agricultural development. It started with the sugar to create a fuel that our vehicles could run with, and we developed the ethanol from sugarcane at the time, and nowadays 95% of our cars can run with any mix of alcohol, of ethanol. And Nigeria has a lot to learn from this experience. We managed to grow our harvest of grains from 30 million tons a year to 300 million, using only 10% more of land. So when you see rice, for instance, the yields in Brazil are at least 5 times higher than in Nigeria. Here in Nigeria, a very good farmer can get 2 tons per hectare. In some farms in Brazil, we can get 11, 12 tons per hectare. So that's because of this reason, we developed the Green Imperative Initiative together in 2019, and in Brazil, we created CITA, is the International Center for Innovation and Technology Transfer in Agriculture. That is the focal point for the Green Imperative, working together with the Nigerian Minister of Agriculture to transfer this technology to Nigerian farmers, mostly small and mid-size. So that's why I think agriculture is the future. I think only Latin America and Africa could feed the world in the future. We still have land availability, and there is plenty we can do. And what we want is to transfer the technology so Nigeria can produce your own. You don't have to import commodities. As I mentioned, we prefer to sell machinery to produce sugar than sell the sugar itself. I think it's and sugar is still for decades the biggest product that Nigeria imports from Brazil.
My interview with Ambassador Luz continues after the break. Welcome back, and now back to my interview with the Brazilian Consul General to Nigeria, Ambassador Francisco Luz. Well, in the bicentennial celebrations, I noticed you didn't mention football, and Nigerians are really crazy about Brazilian football and Brazilian footballers.
Yeah, now, football. I'm negotiating now with Santos. That, by the way, is my club, but it was just a coincidence because the Santos of Pelé played here in Benin in 1969. And the Santos, together with Umbro, that is their main sponsors, are creating a jersey to celebrate this match that happened during the war here in Nigeria, during the Biafra War. And they're playing. This will happen if everything goes well on the 14th of September. We're still deciding the venue. They're gonna bring two players from that played that match. They want to come here to Lagos, do the launching, go to Ile-Ife, then go to Benin to visit. It looks like that for 4 years, the third jersey of Santos, the third official jersey of Santos, we're gonna have something related to the match or Nigeria.
You do know that your country, Brazil, is a trade route for drugs, for hard drugs, and over the years we know you've been trying hard to clean up that image. What exactly is Brazil doing, that's helping to change the narrative?
No, because most of the cocaine in the world is produced by our neighbors, and they are facing the Pacific. They use Brazil as their exit, their routes through the Atlantic to go to Europe, Africa, and Asia. And we have 8.5 million square kilometers. Our border is huge. It's almost impossible to control every single corner of the border. It's porous. We're trying to do with satellite surveillance and GPS tracking, all this kind of new technologies that help us find. But anyway, something passes. I think the situation is not as bad as it used to be. We're not in the worst. I think situation improved. The police is trying to control much better the borders and the ports. But because of the sheer size of the country, it's an almost impossible mission to bring it down to zero. No? I think the only way is to try to control consumption. Yeah, because if there is consumption, there will be traffic. So it's I think this is the only. People have to understand that it's a bad thing, and we have to work together. And we do a lot of work together. We have a military attaché in Abuja that deals with this. There are links between Interpol, the Nigerian police, Brazilian police, to follow up on arrests, to try to find, because the idea is to find who's behind this, not the guys that are doing the work, but the heads of the traffic, the capos of traffic.
This brings us to the issue of visa policy. What is Brazil's visa policy towards Nigeria?
Well, visa policy is based on reciprocity, So Nigerians request visa from Brazilians. Of course, we request visa from them. We have the requirements are clear. We have online platforms that you can apply. There is an online form and a platform called e-Consular Lagos that you can make an appointment, upload all your documents, and you only come here once. You don't have to keep coming and going. You do everything. When they call you, you bring your passport. Then the next time you just came to collect if the visa is granted or if the visa is not granted. So it diminished the time you lose coming and going. We started this during the pandemic, and it was quite effective and make my work here much easier. And I think it's easier now for Nigerians. Sometimes people are afraid of requesting visas, and they don't understand that we don't use visa services, we process everything. My staff works as a visa service, and what we're going to do, we prepare the process and we send. The visa is granted in Brazil by the Immigration Division of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So that's what is take a bit long. No? So it takes a minimum of 21 days. If all the documents are in order, no? If the documents are not in order, they sometimes can take months, no? Because people don't understand what is the need, especially if they're traveling with children. But what happened, I think, with the pandemic, the profile of the tourists that are going to Brazil improved a lot. Now we're seeing real tourists. Before it was businessmen, people visiting family, students.
Nigeria and Brazil do have an exchange program. You're planning to move at least 150 Nigerians to Brazilian universities.
Nigeria has been benefiting from this Brazilian exchange program since 1975. And I think since then we have more or less 500 Nigerians that went to study graduation and postgraduate studies. Since I arrived, I decided to put a bit more emphasis on this because it was my first job when I entered the Foreign Service 37 years ago. I was deputy head of training, cooperation in training, and I realized that here they were sending only 2, 3, 4 Nigerians a year, no? And then I decided, look, Nigerians are sending, I don't know, thousands of people to Europe, to Canada, to US. And why we shouldn't increase? First of all, the biggest problem is the language. No, we don't have any courses in English. Of course, some PhD courses in general, they can accept the thesis to be written in English, but the classes are always in Portuguese. And then we managed to get more and more students every year. We grew from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20, and then because of the Green Imperative, TED Fund and FARA decided to create a program to help us. We give them the tuition, and the TED Fund pays the allowance for masters and PhD. Mostly in agriculture. So we have 150 is only for TED Fund FARA. Then we have another 30 on the other scholarships. So I think 180 is a number that more or less show the importance of relations. Keeping the program in less than 10 students a year it was not compatible with the importance of our relations.
It's either Rio de Janeiro or it is, Brasilia. But for a first-time tourist to Brazil, what city would you recommend? That's not popular, but it is, people would find surprisingly pleasant and really happy to be in.
For Nigerians, I really suggest Salvador in Bahia, because it's the Yoruba capital of the Americas. It's a city, it has a colonial old city from the 1600s. You see it's where the melting pot has people are happy on the streets, is music loud, the food it's completely African. You have people playing capoeira, our martial arts on the streets. I think it's a lovely experience.
Ambassador Francisco Luz, thank you so much for speaking with us. It's been a real pleasure being here in your home at the Consulate General.
Okay, no, the pleasure was mine. I think my mission here it's only Brazil and Nigeria are the biggest countries in their continents. Brazil, Latin America, Nigeria here in Africa, biggest economic, most populous country. So I think our relations have to reflect this situation. We have to work to this. We cannot punch below our weight. We have to really have the relations we deserve. No?
This is where we end the program this week. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.